Hey, what's up, guys? Coming to you again live from the secret underground hidden location because you never know. All right, last module, last module here, module 12. Everybody's excited. I'll wait for you to stop cheering. Last module. So we are going to be talking about multimeters. We're going to talk about meter. Electrical test equipment is actually what the module is called. Electrical test equipment in module 12. Uh, the introduction is real quick, real simple. This is a very short, very concise module, so it won't take us long. I should be able to get through it in one video, and then we are going to be working on getting the final done before Strawberry and Levi are done for the year, and that will be for them. They're done on the 1st, so we'll have that stuff done. If you're not done by then, you can get caught up. I've got to make sure that we have everything else in. Otherwise, they might have to join us for a little bit more stuff just for hours and things like that. Otherwise, we'll be wrapping up pretty quickly. And so let's get started. The introduction simply. Electronic test instruments and meters are generally used for the following tasks: troubleshooting electrical and electronic circuits and equipment, and verifying operation of instruments and associated equipment. So those are your general uses, what you're going to be using a meter for. So, and I'll get your slides put up on Schoology as soon as I'm done here. It'll probably be up before this is done uploading. If not, they'll be real close together. So it'll tell you on there about a D'Arvezal meter or Arsenval. I'm not sure how to say it in French. Meter. He was a Frenchman who came up with the first meter. He invented a meter that would galvanometer. It was accurate, but for low, it could only measure low currents. So we had to improve, and so that first slide there, the shunt and multiplier resistors are used to extend the range of the meters. So those are the old analog meters. If you remember, we had an example sitting up on top of the cabinet, and I think that Mr. Humphrey had showed you a couple others. And so most of your modern meters, most of your meters you're going to be using now are going to be your digital meters. So you're not going to have to worry about the analog meters now. But what you need to know about that is multiplier resistors are used to extend the range of the meter movement for voltage measurements. And here's your key information. While shunt resistors are used to extend the range of the meter movement for circuit measurements, or for current measurements. Shunt resistors are used to extend the range of the meter movement for current measurements. Today, most meters are solid state systems or digital. solid state digital systems, and they are easier to read than mechanical analog meters. So most meters are solid state digital systems and are easier to read. And they're easier to read, easier to have an accurate measurement on. That's why we use the digital meters now. And the price on them continues to drop. It's easier to get a hold of a good quality meter now than it was even 10 years ago. So as we move on, the voltmeter, a voltmeter is used to measure voltage and known as a potential difference or electromotive force, EMF. So it is connected in parallel with the circuit and component being measured. So your voltmeter will be used to measure that electromotive force being used to measure, and it's put into the circuit. So you'll like testing to see if voltage is present in a receptacle. You complete a circuit and it goes through the meter and it shows you is voltage present or not. That's what we're looking at. What you need to know, good to write down, is as a check to make sure that the voltage tester is operating correctly, the probes of the tester are first connected to a known energized source. It's always good. Always, always, always. You know power's there. Check it. Make sure that your meter is working and functioning properly before you get into anything else, because this is something that can save your life, something that can at least save you the pain that you don't have to go through if you were to get shocked. So make sure that it's working and working correctly. A voltage tester is not used when a voltage tester is used when a precise reading is not required. This is something that gives an approximate measurement. You'll see on the picture there, it's just one that has the LEDs that light up as it goes up the side there. It's not a precision instrument. It's just something that'll give you a range of where the voltage is for that. But you, as a check, that's one of those things to remember. As a check, make sure that the voltage tester is connected to a known energized source first. So voltmeter tests used to power to a 3-phase motor. Okay. Now I was having to decipher the notes that were written down there. A voltmeter test can be used to test the power to a 3-phase motor. So you can see if you've got a high leg in there, you can find what leg is the high leg, and you know where to put it when you're connecting to the motor, making sure that you're not getting out of phase, making sure that you get things in that correct order. So moving on, you got a multifunction voltage tester. Again, this isn't the precision, but it's the slide says the multifunction voltage testers provide additional features such as digital readout, a GFCI test capability, and a non-contact test option. Always inspect meters before you use and test the meter on a known energized source to ensure that it's operating correctly. So you'll have a digital display and you'll have it looks like several different approximate voltage LEDs again, and just different way, a different type of meter there. Um, and that non contact test option is really similar to your touch testers. I think everybody has one of the touch testers. And here, most good to know, good information to write down. Have your notes. Most digital meters also have audible tone when the measured value is very low or at 0 ohm. This indicates a closed circuit and is useful when using the meter as a continuity tester. So when you're ohming something out, when you're trying to find continuity, is the circuit broken or not? A lot of your multimeters have a audible tone. You can, if you're finding a break or looking for where is the problem, and you think you've got it, you can tie your meter in to the where you were at, and if you think you found a break, you can put it together. And if there's some distance, you can hear that beep, and it'll come up. You'll know that, yeah, that's my problem. Make the repair, and you'll be able to move on. So, moving along in the book here, going from voltage detector and ohm meters to ammeters. What do you think an ammeter is going to test? That's right. You are correct if you said amperage. These are your clamp type. It might open up and close around a particular hot wire where you're looking to see, but a lot of your fluke meters, the better fluke meters that I've seen, just had a U-shaped spot that you would put around that wire. That it wasn't fully enclosed, but they were also measuring that that magnetic current, or the magnetism that current causes. What you need to know about an ammeter: a clamp-on ammeter, also known as a clamp meter, can measure current without having to make contact with uninsulated wire. And it says see figure 5. Well, that's your that's on the slide there. Figure 5 is there, and you see it. It's looks almost like my ammeter that I use. So that does without having to touch. You just have to put it around the leg of the where you're at. So moving on, multimeter. A multimeter, or a VOM, a voltage, ohm, and milliammeter, is used to measure voltage, current, and resistance. That is generally what you're going to get a hold of, is a multimeter. Whether it's like the one here, I think I've got a couple that I still have that were my dad's, that were analog multimeters. We had one that was mine when I was younger, that we got at Sears, and it was an old analog meter, and I learned how to use the old analog meter that way. It was one of my toys that I got to play with, that was in my toolbox. So what you need to know: the multimeter is also known as a voltage, ohm, and milliammeter, which is that VOM. You need to know what a VOM is. It's another name for a multimeter, which is um, the VOM stands for voltage, ohm, and milliammeter. Going on from there, and you see there a digital VOM or digital multimeter, and that one there is a Fluke. You see, and then you got a uh, clamp on multimeter. There's multi functions within the meter, and my clamp meter is the one that I use 99% of the time because they're not dealing in exact precision. Hey, is voltage present? Oh, is it low or high? Or is it in expected range? What's going on here? So that's the kind of meter you can carry around with you. You can use it a lot, and you don't have to worry about it. Mine's an Ideal. I picked it up probably in 2002, 2003, and it's still going strong. I've changed batteries out in it a couple times, but that's all I've had to do. You get one like that, and it'll last you for a while. If you were to pick up an even better one, you can get more functions out of them, and I would highly recommend picking up Ideal or Fluke if you can do it. I would highly recommend buy a Fluke, and it'll last you for a long time. So you'll be able to, like it says here, you'll be able to do the frequency, capacitance, and temperature on some of them. Some meters also be able to test diodes and resistors or transistors. So moving on, we talk about a mega ohm meter, and an ordinary ohm meter cannot be used to measure for measuring resistance of several million ohms, which as those found in conductor insulation or between motor or transformer windings. So we're not able to, with the normal ohm meter, measure, and so you've got to get an instrument that will be able to, which is your mega ohm meter. And as you have probably figured out, mega means big. So what you need to have note of here, the instrument used to measure very high resistances is known as a mega ohm meter. Mega ohm meters are called megers, or insulation resistance testers. So it's that you have a megar, you have something that's measuring the high amounts of resistance. So your next note for this is that high voltages are present when using a mega ohm meter. For example, a 600 volt class system applied mega ohm meter voltages are typically 500 volt to 1000 volt. You need to know that high voltages are present when using a mega ohm meter. And when you have a 600 volt class, you're looking somewhere between 500 and 1000 volts of what you're going to be ohming, what you're going to be looking for. So as you move on in those hand crank mega ohm meters can be powered by alternating current batteries or hand cranking. And this is, again, for out in the field, things that you'll wind up getting into. The next slide there, the windings of the three-phase motor must be connected in the correct circuit phase order in order to rotate properly. So this is a motor rotation tester on slide 13, and you just hook them to the leads and check the order, make sure that's the order that needs to be on your three-phase motor you're putting in, and boom, ready to go. Real nice to have when you're doing things like that. But there's different types, different clamp ways of going, so there's different ones that you can get a hold of. Moving on to recording instruments, that's slide 15. The term recording instrument describes many instruments that make a permanent record of measuring quantities over a period of time. Recording instruments use either a paper strip or electronic accessible memory. Those using electronic memory are usually called data loggers. So when you're dealing with something, say you're trying to find where the large draw is, what's going on, you might put a data logger on and let it sit overnight and come back and find, oh, hey, there was a spike here, there was a spike there, what's going on, so, and as it says there, you're looking for peak voltage, peak loads, voltage fluctuations, looking to see if there's something wrong with the power coming in. But that was the note that you needed. The recording instruments either use paper strip or electronic memory, and they're usually called data loggers. Going on, category ratings and safety, you have different categories of what you will be using, and you need to make sure that what you're working on and your meter are going to be able to work together. You don't want to use something that isn't up to what you are going to be working on. So to have, make sure that you have the right category meter before you jump into the work. So the note here, what you need to make sure that you understand, certified meters are marked with category ratings on the meter housings. And that says figure 14, that is slide 17. You can see there on the front of that Greenlee meter, it has the category rating. So you need to make sure that your meter's up to the work that you're going to perform. What you need to know about the different categories, there on the previous slide, slide 16, it's got it laid out here, and it's good to have the notes there. Good to have the category 1, category 2, and category 4 in your mind, what you're going to be using those for. So Cat 1 is electronic equipment and circuitry. So all you're dealing with is boards, small electronics. Then you'll probably be able to get by with just a Cat 1. If you're only dealing with, say, like Nick was wanting to do more with amplifiers and pedals and things. He had talked to me about that. When you're dealing with those kind of things, solid state or tube amps, a Cat 1 meter is going to be just fine. And when you're building pedals and doing this and that, that's going to be right where you need to be. So you wouldn't need much more than that, and that's going to not cost you as much, but there's going to be some precision things that are within that you'll see that are handy. The Cat 2, what you need to have in mind with that is small appliances. Single phase load, such as small appliances, you can test that single phase load. You can test those things that are the normal household items. You can small appliances and tools, outlets at more than 30 feet from a Cat 3 source, 60 feet from a Cat 4 source. So your Cat 2s are going to handle most everything, handyman type job, residential whatnots. Cat 3, just quickly, a 3-phase motor, single phase, commercial and industrial lighting, switchgear, bus conduct, feeders, and industrial plants. So if you're going into a factory, you're going to be working with 3-phase stuff. A Cat 3 is good to have. Cat 4, now you need to have this in your mind. It's good to write it down. Cat 4 is good for outdoor conductors. So we're talking your linemen would need the Cat 4. They would be using a Cat 4 type meter. 3-phase at the meter, service entrance, utility connection, and any outdoor connections. You need a Cat 4. And that's your linemen generally, but again, you don't want to burn up your meter, so you make sure that it's going to be able to handle everything that you are going to throw at it. So with that, I will get I'll get the slides put up on Schoology. I'll get this taken care of and upload it, and then we will be done with our book. If you know anybody that's in the class that hasn't been keeping up with the work, if they're struggling with getting on to Schoology, if they're struggling with anything like that, if you guys help each other out, it helps tremendously. I'm very much an amateur at this Schoology thing too. I know just enough to be able to get you your assignments on there and to be able to grade them. Beyond that, it's a struggle trying to figure this stuff out. So we're in the boat together. Hopefully we can get things more lined up and be able to be on top of this for next year. We are going to spend a little bit of time right at the first of the year working on how to log on and make sure that everybody has their instructions, their passwords, their everything they need, so that if we have another situation, we have a time where we're not in school for a while, then we'll be able to keep up and handle things a little bit easier. It won't be as much of a shock for everybody. So until I get another video put up, I want to do another wrap-up video, and I'm also going to come up with a final for everybody, and we'll be able to get those knocked out and everybody catching up and doing what needs to be done. I know that a lot of you guys are busy doing some things, handling business, taking this time to make a little extra money if you've got a job. So You guys keep on keeping on and get a hold of me if you need anything. Till then, I'll talk to you later, but stay safe and be well.